You're not going to get the jump on me. I was born waiting for you to tell me I was born being ready.
I find it that was great. What a great start to the stream. Hello, everybody.
Hello, squishies.
That was the first thing they heard was that little mumblies you did. Hi, everybody.
You're the worst. And this is why
doing shit in chat, but I don't know what it means yet. Oh, okay.
What are they doing? What are they doing?
Apparently, my screen. It's gonna be a quick delay. Apparently, my screen, second screen, turning off and on in the middle of setting up fucked up Clip Studio, so it wasn't gonna work. So I just need to. There we go. It's back. It's back on. Hi, everybody.
I see nothing. You don't exist to me.
Yeah, we need the mature warning because we might need to talk about some content. So we updated 4 times what we were reading. It turns out Stazzy Boy was right, and we needed to read the first book to have enough to talk about. I think we should have read 1 volume less than the full first book because the first book ends with like 1 volume of a new story.
I don't care.
We're figuring it out. We're figuring out what we need.
Here, can I just talk about that for a second?
Talk about what? Talk about stuff. Go ahead.
Talk about the thing that you just talked about.
I'm having a great time with Mr. Berserk.
Well, you keep talking over me, so I can't talk about it.
Okay, talk now.
Here I go. So I have the Berserk Deluxe Edition.
That's true.
With number 1, and all I did is read it. And so I don't give a shit how much of anything it has after it. I'm reading it all, and that's how that's going to go.
Okay, because you want to read your special book. But you only have 3 special books, which means you can only do that 3 times.
Well, I'm gonna read what I read.
Okay. And people can't even send us more books because the postal workers are on strike. So like you just have those books and that's it.
No,
I guess I just realized I need to check my mail still because they can send us Amazon. Wait, no, but I can't get the Amazon packages because there's no one at the desk to okay, never mind.
No.
Yeah, because it's sent to a PO box, so I can't get Amazon packages that get sent to us. I can't get anything anyone sends to us right now. So we do only have the 3 special books.
I'm sad about that because the special books are better than however you're doing it.
You mean digitally in an abstract soup, unknowing about what's going on in the slightest?
Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to imagine having a special book with like a sexy ass cover,
like
and
a
then
really
imagine
good-looking book that feels like it adds a lot of legitimacy and power to this read.
Yeah, then I want you to imagine you're just reading it online like some kind of like snuffly truffle pig, and that's you.
Wow. Okay, I hadn't thought about it like that. That's actually crazy to think about. So, Mr. Guts is having a bad first day at the office.
Apparently, I'm really loud, and everyone is like, Mama's
well,
so
I
loud.
lowered you down a bit, but the amount I have to lower you is always varies every time. I'm dropping you a bit. I'm dropping you a bit. You've been dropped.
Don't worry about it. I moved my mic back. We're all good now.
Yeah, you can say you're here for depression. This is the cheerful, upbeat Berserk review. That's our goal. Oh. Hey, everybody. Hey, YouTube. We should do our mission statement because this is where it'll start for YouTube viewers. Yo, YouTube. This is a mother-son read-through of Berserk. Do you want to introduce yourself, Mama Drawk? Because it's a new series. It's a new day.
Oh, yeah. People don't know me. So before I introduce myself, I just want to tell you, I can't see you. Do other people see?
You don't? I see me. Do you see me, people?
Are the other people seeing? Is it just me? Am I the only one? Am I the problem?
I just realized I was supposed to bring my little guys. My little guys are in the wrong spot. Let me rearrange my little guys. Yeah, now they're not blocking chat.
Also, did I mention one other thing? Mine says Mama Draw and Cat 2 One Piece Theory Jam still.
Well, that's crazy. Here's the interesting thing about that. I don't know. I changed the title. It's all lying. It lies.
It's a liar that lies?
Okay, let's get to this. Let's do this.
Okay, I can't see you. Who can think?
I don't know why you can't. I think your stream's frozen.
I started watching and I can see you now, so I can get into this.
Yeah, everyone else can see it.
It's my 12-month sub-anniversary, everybody.
Wow.
Okay, hey, everyone.
Yeah, let's do introductions now. Hey, everybody.
I am Mama Drawk, and Drawk, who you see there with the face, he convinced me to read One Piece. It only took him about 12 years, and then I did after a mere dozen years. And now we've been reading some other things. We read Undead Unluck, and if you haven't read it, Spoiler alert, you aren't as cool as you should be.
We're not.
And now
We're gonna avoid spoiling other manga we've read in this read through. However, this review.
I won't spoil it.
Yeah.
And now we are reading Berserk. I have 3 of the cool ass books in the deluxe edition. So currently I am very cool and Drawk is kind of mid. And we are going to do a happy
happy, upbeat, the positive-minded Berserk review. We are going to bring the levity that this series so desperately deserves of joy. We're gonna be optimistic. We're gonna talk about Mr. Guts's great adventures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We're gonna do the happy Berserk read.
You remember when the magical empathic elf had a fucking seizure by trying to feel Guts's emotions? That's nothing.
That was a bad choice.
Don't just, you know what? This man's working through some stuff. Maybe don't read his emotions right now.
The problem is sometimes with your elves, they get all up in your business and they want to be part of your feelings when you're busy, you know, going through a crisis. Maybe they should just, you know, back off, let you sort your thoughts, and then they can elf on in.
Let's give this man some space before you elf on in. Come on. Magical happy adventure. That's what we're talking about. There's a magical happy adventure.
You know what my favorite part of the happy magical adventure is so far about this
yeah
manga? And mind you, I've only read the deluxe edition #1, and there's 40 of them, so I'm 39 to go.
That's true, somewhere around there.
My favorite part of it is that the person dies and doesn't finish the adventure.
Yeah, the guy who wrote it is dead now, and it's his like apprentice carrying on his notes to finish, and we will never see the true vision of this master mangaka realized.
Do we only have? Is there only 14 deluxe editions? There's only 14 books that are deluxe?
Oh, that's tragic. Okay.
Because if that's no, because does that mean that's all there is? Because I can do that. I can collect them.
You can collect them all. You can collect the Dragon Balls.
This would be just like Dragon Ball Z or Pokemon.
Yeah, gotta capture them all, the deluxe edition Berserks. So should we start at the beginning if we're doing a book club?
If you know this about book clubs, but generally what they do is they turn to page 1 and that's where they begin. So page 1. Oh wait, can I just say that before you begin that I think we are not only the first mother-son read-through of Berserk, I think we may be the last.
Oh, it's also worth noting, hey YouTube, I haven't read it. This isn't like One Piece where I know what's happening and I'm going to be guiding Mama along as a Jin. I am in the dark. I don't know anything about this. However, I am less in the dark than Mama because I am a big fan of a lot of things that draw heavy inspiration from Berserk. I love Dark Souls. I love Fear and Hunger. Have I played Fear and Hunger? No. I have too much I need to do to play a game that hard, but I have worked while watching Let's Plays of it often. I've watched so many fucking lore videos. I love so many things that culturally draw from Berserk, and it feels almost like cultural archaeology, like anthropological archaeology. I guess archaeology is a field. Whatever. It feels like media archaeology to see this like the origin of so many of the plot beats that I am familiar with, of so many of the like tropes of this grim dark fantasy genre that I know.
Okay. I'm going to say whatever I want to and piss people off.
You're allowed to
legit
dislike
Hawaiian,
Mr. Guts Berserk's magical adventure.
Hawaiian, thank you very much for gifting me the hardcover deluxe editions and making me cooler than Drawk.
Yeah, you've made her so much cooler. Hey, legit Hawaiian. I mean, she is a lot cooler than me now. You succeeded. You did it.
Even Drawk is like, how am I this uncool now? And I don't know.
Look, I wish I was reading the cool books. They look great. They're some of the best looking manga I've ever seen.
Even your dad, when I was like, I have to go and read some more demon about. Wait, let me tell you what I told your dad. I said I have to go read some more demon sex right now, and then he was like, what? And then he was like, those pretty books have demon sex in them? And I was like, I don't have to tell you.
I mean, as if 90% of, no, not 90, as if 50% of fiction marketed towards your demographic isn't basically that anyways.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, so you open it up. Page 1.
Page 1.
Demon sex.
I
Demon
actually
sex abounds.
But I actually want to talk about something immediately here because Carly brought it up that the way Guts acts in the first chapter feels very bizarre and almost out of character. And I told you this when we were on the phone that I felt like with how people talk about the series, it has to be more mature than it starts. And to me,
Yeah.
the beginning felt like a promising, edgy young man who hadn't really thought things through all the way, but made something compelling enough to get published. I thought it would take longer to feel like it changed, but it really is just the first chapter that it feels like, here's my cool, badass, edgy OC. Look how rad he is. He's awesome. And then almost immediately after, it feels like everyone around Guts is pointing out how his outlook is really fucked up, and like it becomes so clear that the author has problems with Guts's outlook, whereas he does just feel like, look at my cool badass boy in the first chapter.
First of all, thank you legit for all of those subs.
Absolutely.
Second of all, I 1,000,000% agree, but I also think that I've been thinking about like why open in the middle of a sex scene like this one and immediately flip it over to it being demon sex. And I was like, kind of makes sense if you're trying to give people a warning, like, you know where you are, this is what you're getting into. So let's just stick it right out there in the front so that you can have a little look. And now you can't say I didn't warn you. Like it's page 1.
Yeah,
Demon sex.
well, you know what's up. It also
Yeah.
it feels interesting because it feels like it's trying to make Guts into like the badass archetype at first, where it's like, yeah, he's having cool sex with a hot lady, but oh, it's a trap, but oh, he knew and he was doing this to make her vulnerable, but also like that doesn't entirely make sense. And again, it just feels like he was trying to make Guts a different guy at first. Like, look how cool he is, look how awesome Mr. Guts is. And then the rest of everything, even when people are amazed by how strong he is, people are like really put off by him. Like, man, what a sad dude.
And it was also very interesting right away because I was like, that demon has kept its like girl eyes. And then all throughout this thing and all the demon sex and all the demon meats, demons do keep their kind of like their eyes contextually.
Well, what we notice, and we can skip ahead a little bit to talk about what the Guardians of Desire look like. It feels like all of the demons we see have human characteristics left. They have their human face, their human eyes looking human until the
Which is
Guardians of
weird.
Desire, whose eyes no longer look human.
No. One dude does, the one that I thought was a lady, but was apparently a dude.
Griffith, but no, he's got his helmet.
Yeah, but you can see his eyes through it. And I think it's an interesting choice because we always talk about the eyes being
You're
the
right,
window of
you can.
except for we talk about the eyes being the window of the soul, and yet every single demon, everything else changes except the eyes. And I was like, is it because it is the window of the soul and their soul is corrupt and therefore they have to keep that corrupt soul? It's kind of a thing I was wondering about.
To me, it definitely feels like it's meant to be like they are not fully deep. The Guardians of Desire point out that the God Hand, point out that they're not fully demons until they've fully given up their humanity. So we have to see a piece of humanity in them, no matter how monstrous they are until then.
I had the same question, but I also wondered if it was like a way of saying, like, we always think about the eyes being a window of a soul as a positive thing, but it can also be a negative thing if you have a corrupt soul.
Makes sense.
So the eyes don't change. The one thing that you find interesting here is that they always change the mouth into some atrocious thing. Also, you know how we're live right now with people on Twitch, so we can talk about this, and then the poor editors can do the work of getting rid of some of this.
Yeah.
You know how when we talked about One Piece, we talk about a lot of breasts, a lot of boob piece going on.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to have a lot of dick talk.
You think there's a lot of dicks in this?
A lot of penis talk is going to go on.
It feels like there's more explicit boobs, but there's more implicit dicks.
But the boobs are of a different size. Like boobs are allowed to be sized differently.
The boobs are way better drawn than One Piece. Actually, I want to talk about the art really quick because I knew this guy was going to get better than he starts, because chapter 1, volume 1 isn't that crazy. Like, it's good. He very clearly has a studied sense of anatomy, but the action is very stilted. He knows the style he wants to get, but he hasn't figured out where to place shadows yet to get the effect he's going for. Like, it feels not quite together. And then by volume 2 and 3, it felt like there was still a bit of that stilted posing. He hadn't figured out paneling from one to another to convey action very effectively. But the art was already really refining. Like, by volume 4, this is already masterpieces. That speed of improvement feels actually insane to me. Like, how far the difference in quality is so quickly. Like, so quickly. It goes from being like, yeah, this is pretty good, but there's some issues. Like, by volume 2 and 3, most of the issues I had with the shading not being as strong and the gesture not being as strong were mostly fixed, but there was a bit of issues with facial construction. All of that's gone by like volume 4, which is insane. That's so fast to get to for this guy to just like boom, lock in and be this good. This was an incredibly talented dude to learn that quickly, and clearly worked very hard to get better while working on this.
Also thinking within here, and I don't know about where the volumes are because
We don't know because the volumes originally are different than the hardcover. We're talking about the first hardcover book.
Yeah.
Which I
Because
think
for
is
me,
like
I'm just
8
reading the
volumes or
hardcover book.
something. It's like a good number. Or 3, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
I don't remember either.
Anyways, this series is impossible to track. The chaptering is so much harder than most manga. Anyways, you go. Oh, thank you, Phantasm, for subscribing for Momserk.
But for me, I noticed right in the beginning, he was really good at drawing like the background pieces in a phenomenal and interesting way, like the mountainscapes, cedar trees in the front, and all that kind of piece in the beginning of it was
it's
really
3
well done.
volumes.
But I felt like
yeah.
the body movements, like, okay, I can't believe I'm here. Here's where we are now. The body movements in the sex scene, I was like, his ass is weirdly long. He doesn't have the right tension in the lower half of his body. His legs are sticking straight back from him.
Like I said, the gesture is very stiff and stilted. It feels like he knew how to do perspective.
And it felt wrong.
Yeah.
But in my agreement with you, I still felt like he was trying to get places. The way that he was hung up when he was tortured in the first little bit, I still felt that way. And then right after we went and met the family in the horse-drawn carriage, I was already like, oh damn, we've already changed. So I could completely agree with you, even from a non-artist perspective, a stick person, drawing person. I was like, I'm already noticing that I'm enjoying the way that you are doing your movement, and and because this book is so heavy in movement and so light on words, it kind of feels like The Witcher to me already, in the way that Guts is a man of few words. He's moving through the world. Which came first, The Witcher or the?
That's a good question. To me, Guts feels like an even sadder Geralt.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair thing to say.
Like,
and I just felt like I was watching something that was like, I was like, this is really interesting. It feels like that silent Geralt dude from The Witcher, but I really felt like because he decided to tell this tale in so much movement, that he actually focused on his movement, and that you were 100% right.
He was like, if I'm better at it so quickly.
Yeah, he was like, well, if I'm going to make this all about movement and it's going to be about the action, then I'm going to have to be better in my action.
Berserk came first. We have official confirmation. Berserk was first.
Oh, that's interesting to me, because that really talks
that's what I'm telling you. I think grim fantasy owes so much to Berserk. I think grim fantasy, if you look at it as a genre, is Berserk inspired. I think Geralt being like Guts isn't a coincidence. Even if he was inspired by things inspired by Berserk instead, I think Guts's DNA is in Geralt. I think this is the cultural anthropology. This is the origin of like the grim modern fantasy story.
Yeah, I don't disagree. As soon as I turned the page, I was like, I wonder how many people are going to do this type of thing together with their children. So it's really interesting to hear there is a father and daughter also moving.
Oh, I thought I told you that there was a father and daughter read through. It's just in that one, it's like how we did Mom Piece.
Care to remember things. My brain is,
So their read through is like how we did Mom Piece, because she was already a Berserk fan.
Oh, and so he's coming into it as a person who is just learning about it.
So they're similar to what we're doing, but we're in our era of both of neither of us knowing what's going on. We're both in the dark.
We're both in the dark here. We're both going to gin each other. Drawk was going to read ahead and I wasn't going to have it, so I ginned up. You know what else was really interesting about this when we're talking about how much it changed? And I don't know if this was intentionality or if this is just a thing that occurred. But in the beginning, when he starts fighting people, like if you go into the bar scene that we have right away where we meet Puck Interesting that his name is Puck too, because it's
I
kind
thought
of like a
I thought it
Midsummer
was
Night.
Pluck.
Oh, what? No, what?
Y'all, is my translation bad?
Let me just look here because I think you're wrong. It's Puck.
It's Puck?
Yeah, dude, it's
Yeah, it's
Puck.
Puck. Okay. Why have I thought that it was Pluck this whole time? You know what's wild? Because I thought his name was
Maybe, like,
Pluck. Every time I've looked at him, I've been like, is someone gonna rip off this fucker's wings? I'm so scared.
oh, yeah, well, there you go. I'd be scared too if
I
somebody's
am
name was Puck.
dude, I am so scared for this fucking elf. He's gotta die at some point. I'm so worried about when it happens.
Talking about the him dying. Anyways, I started to think about Midsummer Night's Dream and the way in which it was told, and I was like, what if Midsummer Night's Dream was done in just a dark way? Still enchanted, but now instead it's demonic and angry and ugly. And I was like, ugh. But anyway, when we meet Puck for the first time, he shoots arrows into people, right through their eyes, right through their neck, right through their chests, no blood. And so you keep going through it, no
Huh.
blood, no blood. Arrow through the nose, no blood.
Huh.
And there's literally no blood. And then he gets to page in mine 2021 22 20 23 and he cuts a human in half and we have a spray of weird blood that comes out of him in a really weird kind of way. And it felt like he really just was holding back on the blood. And then as we move through the story, suddenly there's this blood focus. So it goes from like all these wounds, all this killing, and we don't really have any blood. And then we start to have like a trickle come out of his nose on page like 17. And then
Wait.
boom.
So are you saying we don't get to have the bloody action scenes until Guts bleeds?
And that's exactly what I was going to say.
So until Guts starts to bleed, blood isn't allowed to be there. That's interesting to think about because it kind of implies that like there's something specifically special about like the series doesn't want to just revel in bloodshed until it points out that it's willing to have our main guy also struggle. Yeah, it's happening. It's happening. Don't you worry.
And so then I remember that
They
later
bleed a little
on,
bit. They bleed a little bit, but they're not bleeding like crazy in the beginning.
no, nobody bleeds until page what is it 16 17 18 19 is when the first blood comes out on what's his face after after he gets a little hurt.
Guys, the Witcher book was first published in 1994, but apparently the short story did come out just before Berserk.
Interesting.
So he is not.
And I wonder,
he's not Guts inspired necessarily. They're just.
but I
vibe.
wonder how much they're inspired for themselves. I would like to know that. Anyway, I started to wonder about whether or not there's like a sacrificial part to Guts, because think about later on when he digs his fingers into himself and he pulls across his flesh and opens himself up.
Mm-hmm.
When he's sitting in prison, and then he rubs it into his branding.
Yeah, I think that's conjuring demons. I think that's bringing them up because they can sense his blood when he bleeds into it.
100%. But I started to wonder if there was an aspect to it, and that's why they were showing that part.
Interesting.
If there was an aspect to him kind of sacrificial of bleedingness. I put a bunch of weird ass markers in this book. The first time we know the Black Swordsman has come is on page 21. And by page 20, you're finding that out.
So the first little bit doesn't feel like that's significant, right? Like he fights a guy who's a demon. Puck is amazed. Like it really feels like there's not. He goes to jail.
Did something for me.
Okay.
At first I thought it was nothing, and I was kind of like meh, and I was kind of pissed off about the first bit for a minute. And then there were two parts that made me think. And the first one is I kind of started to see later on when I was watching the way that he was treating Puck and himself, that it almost seemed like two things. That when in the beginning, the way that Puck views him almost looks like, okay, I'm going to say things and people are going to be like, Rah! But it almost
wait, they're gonna make Birdo from Mario noises.
Is that Birdo from Mario?
Yeah.
Let me do it again. Because that's the fun part.
Yeah, that's it. That's Birdo from Mario for sure.
Okay, so they're gonna act like Birdo from Mario.
That's cool. That's
Um,
cool for them. I like that. That's good.
it's actually that's how we get them to have fun. Is that I started to look at Puck as if he is looking at Guts like Guts is a mental illness. So I'm starting to see that Puck is the quote unquote sane one, and he's the side of a character who is sane and can see the insanity around him, and then Guts is the mental illness. And so when I was watching this, I started to feel like I had to pay more attention. So I went back and looked at Puck from the beginning and the way that he was interacting. And it almost felt like Puck was trying to rein his own brain in, that kind of way that somebody, when they're feeling having anxiety attacks or other things, are trying to rein themselves in. And it almost felt like Puck is like, wait a minute, slow down. Where are you going? Don't take off here. And then noticing the things he does and the way that he does them. And it almost felt like Guts was mental illness or sickness, and Puck was the person watching how far it could go.
There's something to that for sure, because I feel, oh my goodness, who just gifted a pile of subs? Rinzade, thank you so much. I think
Thank you, Rins.
I think there's something to that for sure, right? Because like Guts has this very clear vibe of being someone who wants to be a better person than he is. It feels like there's this moment of hesitation before he's the bastard he keeps being every time. Like this little bit of like, yeah, I don't like this. And then he's like, no, why should I think about the ants I crush? The weak have no right. And it feels like being this guy he feels like he has to be is painful for him, but it's this defense mechanism to keep himself safe.
But for me, it almost feels like the author's mental illness and the author's non-mentally ill brain. It feels like two sides of the author.
I could see it.
Yeah. And that's why I went back to the beginning with gross ear-eating, body-eating dude, and had a little look again at when we meet, how we talk to Puck and how Puck talks to him. Because it felt like, okay, well, when they're in the prison, and I don't know if I love the one where Puck has turned around with his butt in his face and sprinkling fairy dust all over him. It's a bit weird, but it almost felt like he was like, look, and I knew that. What do I say instead of the R word?
I think the go-to is usually grape on Twitch,
but I hate that.
Yeah.
Can I just say sexually assaulted?
I think SA is good. SA is a good
I like how we can't say it, but incels say it all the time to women in TikTok and don't get
Yeah,
banned.
no, you're allowed to say it if you are an ill-intentioned person that wants to hurt people, but it's actually against the rules if you are talking about it in a form of literary analysis and just pointing out its existence in
this
something.
makes sense. So if you want to violate someone, that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Oh, so sorry, I forgot a detail though. Only if you're really popular and make the platform a lot of money.
Oh, okay. Okay. That makes sense now. Thank you for clearing that up. I've always wondered.
Yeah, it's significant.
Immediately that he's been sexually assaulted, because
well, I mean, again, I feel like SA is the less YouTube demonetizable. So I feel like if we say SA, it's better for our editors.
Immediately I knew that he'd been SA'd, because
there we go. Yeah.
As soon as he says, don't touch me, this is the reaction of a person who has had somebody SA them, because being touched without permission or being touched in any of these ways, he can't be gently touched. You can't lean on him or just gently put his hand on his shoulder or anything like that. But he doesn't freak out when somebody is touching him in anger and pain and with weaponry.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah.
Gentle touching or touching in a way that isn't to kill. And so I was like, oh, he's been SA'd.
I mean, and it makes sense with the little bit of his backstory we've seen where he was raised to be a mercenary, that like people trying to kill him doesn't mean anything to him. There's no emotion behind that. That's just work. That's them making a living. That's you and the guy trying to kill you clocking in at the office, which is very funny that I did give the description I gave in the bottom there now. But yeah, that's just clocking in for work, trying to kill each other. But like, yeah. I picked up that he was likely a victim of SA, or that like something similar had happened. I didn't want to commit to that, but What I wasn't certain on, what I didn't pick up on was that violence doesn't bother him. People hurting him doesn't bother him. Puck slapping him in the face never bothers him. He's like,
Nope.
yeah, whatever. An attack
It's whatever.
that's how people interact with each other. It
It's
feels
just normal, gentle touching. It's
it
just
yeah,
normal touching. Hand on you,
and
leaning on
like
you, Puck sitting on his shoulder.
I love the emotional maturity we're already seeing after you're out of the first section. I called something a volume earlier that was a chapter. I don't know. This is impossible to track. I don't know how to track what's what in this fucking crazy upside down world of a book.
Just a minute. Carly, go look at page 16, 17, and 18, and you'll notice there isn't a drop of damn blood to the bottom of
Carly
that.
pointed out a specific one, though, that apparently the guy pinned to the wall does bleed. But you have to admit, that fight scene is much, much, much less bloody than what we get later.
It should be bloodier. And everything later on is drip, drip, blood, blood. Yeah. Okay, carry on. Sorry to interrupt.
Whoa, where brain go? I don't know. There's so
This
many.
book is so messed
There's
up.
so much more emotional maturity than I expected there to be with the first chapter being what it was, like very quickly. And this feels like something where a dude who's like, yeah, I'm an edgy young man. This would be a great series for him because you'd buy in with, yeah, look how cool Mr. Guts Berserk is. And as you see his facade start to crack and how much emotional agony this man is in, I think it would start to hit you on a level that like it's not okay that he is the way he is, and that the author is telling you implicitly bit by bit how much undue suffering he's experiencing. Because I think the lesson at some point, look, people say this series is pain. You can't have pain without hope, and that makes me feel like at some point the series has to have the lesson that like even if you're cursed with this affliction that is going to destroy you, even if there is this constant feasting on your soul where demons are hunting you, you've been marked for sacrifice, that it's worth living and experiencing something. Like, if that weren't the lesson we're in for, this series wouldn't hurt people as badly as it apparently does.
Yeah. Also, the other reason that I think that you're right in that way is later on where it goes, where Puck is feeling his emotions the first time. Oh, by the way, he has a piggier nose than you're giving him right now. You're giving him a Justin Trudeau nose.
I'm sorry, if you look at the reference I'm looking at, he's got the Trudeau nose. Frankly, if you're looking at the reference I'm looking at, he kind of looks a little like Justin Trudeau, but like a Chad Justin Trudeau with a giant block of a chin.
Justin Trudeau's brother right now.
Yeah, he looks like Justin Trudeau's brother with it like just a fucking Chad chin.
Olaf Frostfire. The other thing that shows that you're right about the way that you're talking about how it could be given to different boys is if you look on I'm trying to tell people pages, but the way that these books work in between the different volumes is wild.
It's so there's no way to track because every publication is different. There's no way. This is impossible. It's impossible to talk about where we are. It just doesn't work.
So if you go into the part where in the beginning they're in prison and Puck is sitting there and he's like, what am I feeling right now? His emotions are pouring into me. And like I said, like maybe quit taking people's emotions. But he goes, is it rage? It's rage and sadness and fear. And it's all mixed together and there's something much deeper than that. I love that they mentioned fear because within the first section of this, they've said, no, Guts is brave. He's only brave because he's actually afraid. And they've just admitted out loud that your main character is filled with fear, not just rage and sadness, but fear.
And I love when it's pointed out, it's not fear that he'll die because he's kind of accepted that. It's fear that he'll die without achieving his goal. It's that his fear that he'll be too weak to do whatever he's doing. Look, we don't know I have some cultural osmosis knowledge of this. We don't know just how bad of a fucker Griffith is. Even me with my cultural osmosis knowledge, we don't know how much of a bastard he is. But it kind of, after seeing Griffith and him, makes sense that he is afraid he won't live to see his mission through, that he won't live to kill this man.
100%.
Well, this demon, I guess he's not a man. That's the whole point.
I really enjoy his giant sword, except for when he cut the horse's head off. I didn't like that part.
Hey, I'll be right back. Because I want to show off for anyone who doesn't know, I haven't used it in a while because I hurt my ankle a while ago. It's probably well enough to do this again, but I have a giant weighted training sword.
Are you going to get your giant sword? Is this the training sword moment? Thank you, Rave's Revenge. I agree. It's bullshit. This horse is just living.
This is my workout sword, styled after the Dragon Slayer, and now it feels cooler to own because I've seen the Dragon Slayer in the book.
Yes, it is a lovely, lovely sword. What a pretty sword you have.
Ugh. So I like the sword. The sword is cool.
It's such a pretty sword.
Wielded in my teeth. I think I can't manage that, unfortunately.
I made, you know, those little plastic tabs that you can put into things and write stuff on them, like Post-it notes, but see-through and colored. Do you know what I'm saying here? Is this
No.
making sense to you?
No. I was about to say, no, I don't. I don't know. And then you
Okay.
asked, and cool. No.
You know, like Post-it notes, but they're see-through and they have like a colored end, so you can stick them in and you can like color code them and you can put
Yes.
them on the
Yes.
page and
Yes.
they
Now
don't
I know.
cover it
Now
up.
I know.
Okay. I have so many of those for places that I wanted to go to,
Cool.
and
Let's do
now
it.
I'm just trying to find the one, because when you mentioned the sword, I wanted to just make a mention of this before I forget.
Yeah.
Oh, right at the
Oh,
same time that we're doing the
I just need to
advertisement.
answer a question. The sword is about 20 pounds. It is a block of wood. It is not foam.
It's
It
only
is
20
wood.
pounds.
Yeah. Maybe 30 actually. No, I think it's 30. It's feels heavier than it is because it's so long, but yeah, it's only 20 or 30 pounds, somewhere around there.
All right.
Yeah. Guts' sword, I think, is supposed to be 300.
300
I
pounds?
mean, he's an anime boy. Anime boys are strong.
Yeah, but 300 pounds feels like too much. How long is your sword, by the way?
Um, I think with the handle, it's like 5'10". I wish it could tower above me like Mr. Guts' Berserk sword, but it was the biggest sword they sold at the big sword store.
Called it the big sword store.
Yep. It's taller than Lucy.
All right, I'm trying to find the special place, and I don't think. Somebody was like, "What do you think about this thing?" And I just found one of my tabs that says "the fuck," and it's about the little slug thing that appears in with him, the embryo-looking thing. I just think it's the embryo of a demon. It gets in there first, and then it's
Yeah.
born, and it
Oh,
changes.
like the one that infected the bad count.
Exactly.
Okay. I found it kind of funny that the count did just kind of look like that already when he was still a good guy.
Yeah. Ew. Right.
Like, I didn't expect his head was still so big. Why was his head so big?
And it was just like the dude who essayed him.
Yeah. Oh
They
god, I
look
didn't think about
like
that.
almost the same. Oh, here it is. Okay. So they don't just mention this once in my big ass book in deluxe edition volume 1. They mention this twice. So it either feels like the following things. A
Uh-huh.
prophecy. So a prophecy, or it feels like a prayer,
Okay, what are we
or
talking about specifically as a prophecy or prayer?
so this
Sorry, I
is
think I
what
missed it.
they say this about a sword. It
Uh-huh.
was much too big to be called a sword, massive, thick, heavy, and far too rough. Indeed, it was like a heap of raw iron. And they say it twice in this book alone, which made me feel like the whole thing being indeed it was more like a heap of iron. It started to make me think that there's more to this. Like this sword has come from somewhere, whether it is like a demon-y place that he grabbed from, or that it was pulled out of hell off of a slab of iron and then given a hilt, or whatever the hell it is, because it feels almost prophetic,
Yeah,
or
I feel
like
like
a
that was
prayer that he
definitely not people in the story saying that about his sword, but it was like using something someone else has said in the past to like fill in the blanks to give us like a line from something that's been important at some point. And I think
yeah.
you're right that it's something. Like there's something to the sword that it has this origin.
I even wondered if whether it's somebody else in the future retelling his story, kind of
Hmm.
like a narrator, who will come in every once in a while with this like refrain from a ballad almost. It was much too big to be called a sword, because I could put that to a ballad easily, this little thing. And so it would make sense for it to have like narration from the future when they're retelling the story of him. Uh or something. You know what I mean? Something.
Yeah.
Why are we re-mentioning it type thing? Yeah, that's all I have to say about the sword.
So I know I said with One Piece I don't just want to recreate panels, and I think in the future I'm not gonna, but I just love the way this dude is hatching so much that I kind of want to study it. So
Rock it out. Make it your own thing. I am going to say over and over and over again, it makes me sad, unhappy, and angry that we need to cut horses to make our points.
I mean, look, what are you gonna do? Not cut the horse? Yeah, that sounds hard. You got such a big sword, you got to cut the horse.
Bro, rude. Um, yeah, so when we are in the jail in that gross little it looks like the embryo of a demon with the tail and the weird ass head
That
crawls
makes sense to
towards him
me.
with that "Ah, I'm a beak." Um I really, really was feeling like that's just always how the embryo of the demon comes in. Because later on, when we're going through when we get into the back, and why do we get into the back of the wagon? You knew, come on. But
I
we're in the
I think
wagon.
I think it's the dilemma. Here's my read on why he got in the back of the wagon. Okay, he tried to tell them not to be safe, and they were like, "Oh, it's okay. I don't believe in that nonsense. We'll be fine." And I think for him, deciding to was the softer part of himself being like, maybe I can be warm tonight, maybe I can hope and it'll
I
be
had the
okay.
same feeling.
And
Yeah,
then the darker part of him justifying it and saying, that's
you
not
brought
why.
this
If
on
I don't want to be
yourself.
around people, I don't care if they die.
Also, though, I felt like he was like, "You brought this on yourself," but she didn't. Yeah,
Nope.
an embryo is a fetus, cool kid,
Yeah, it's
and
the
so,
same
yeah,
thing.
I think it is the embryo of a demon, but that's the exact same damn thing that comes through the water. It just comes down into the wagon and demons it out in there, and I was like, "Meh, I think that's what
Mhm.
it is." I think that's how it births itself into this world when it finds him and pulls itself through. Pukily.
Yeah, it's interesting that the guy can eject his demon and still maintain the transformation. Like the demons incubate to make a new demon and then can
Weird.
leave.
Yeah, that was weird. I felt I felt like, if the demon leaves your body, why body still demon?
Could because you've accepted it. You've sacrificed your humanity to let it change you.
Yeah, it felt like the other dude did not really accept that before he was demoned.
I think he did. He was like, I'll do anything to kill Mr. Guts Berserk, and the count was like, yeah, I can do that. And the guy's like, cool, slug me up, bud. Then it happened. Then he did it.
Uh-huh.
Was that not what happened? You reading a different story?
No, I just like the way in which you did it.
Slug me up.
So grody.
I mean, look, is it not what happened? Did he not get slugged up?
Whatever. Um, so you know in the Masters of the Universe franchise,
No.
we have we have Cobra Khan with He-Man?
Nope.
Well, that's who this Cobra dude looks
I
like.
thought Cobra Kai was with G.I. Joe though, right? Or
No, not Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai was with Karate Kid.
That's
Cobra
Karate Kid.
was okay. Cobra was the enemy in GI Joe. Was there another Cobra bad guy in He
Cobra
Man?
Cobra Khan
There
is
was.
KHAN,
I'm gonna look this up.
and
Is this a?
that's from the Marvel Star Comics from '86 to '88. And you know when this started, dude. And
Yeah, that
his
is his
name was
own guy. Why is there so many bad guys from the '80s called Cobra? Why are there so many
and
of them?
he looks just like Cobra dude
Oh
who's
wait,
running around.
yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm so
He-Man and the
confused.
Masters of the Universe.
Why is there so many Cobra bad guys in the
I don't know
80s?
what to tell you, but he's first. Cobra Khan is like super damn old, 86 or whatever.
Okay, so this dude when he goes all snake mode in the beginning
I was
reminds you
like,
of
oh
that.
my god.
The
We
bad guy in the beginning, I feel like we're not going to only reference other manga, but if anyone out there watching this has read One Piece, I feel like Cobra Guy is our Captain Morgan and Slugman is our Buggy.
I hope Slugman's not our buggy.
Well, I don't mean in that he's going to come back, but I mean in that he's our first villain that takes a while and has anything around him and some thematics instead of just being there to like show off our protagonist and what he can do.
We really like to stick things. Yes, He-Man. Oh no, G.I. Joe is old. Let's just figure that out.
We don't need to figure out what Cobra was first.
I just think it's really important in the Cobra to Cobra.
Hey guys, this is the Guts review where we figure out what Cobra was first. Oh,
Whoa,
Stazzy
Stazzy
boy, gifted. What the fuck, Stazzy? That's so many
Stazzy's
subs.
wild.
Stazzy's gifting 10 tier 1 subs. We are gifting today. Thank you, Stazzy.
That was wild. Thank you, Stazzy.
Stazzy boy has passed Rinzade and legit Hawaiian as the #1 gifter today.
Remember when I tried?
Yeah, legit Hawaiian doesn't usually get dethroned.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I did not dethrone him. G.I. Joe is from 64, so G.I. Joe is original.
I'm gonna be pedantic. Snakes aren't poisonous, they're venomous. Anyways, I'm done being pedantic now.
Jesus God. You know what is I've been noticing a lot about this series so far is things like to come out of mouths in this series.
I mean, that's a really common trope with monsters.
In 77, and they often look, you know,
What are you trying to say about the mouth monsters?
dicky. They often look dicky.
That's kind of rude of you to say about their deal.
I don't know what to tell you. I'm not the one who drew the dicky mouth monsters.
They're just out here doing they best, and you're here telling them they look like dicks. Like, fuck.
Thank you, Lucky. It is just a fact. If you look at the Cobra dude with his weird long ass Cobra arms in the phallic dicky moment, he's got his whole flare head, his whole open mouth, then he's got the human mouth in his big old snack head, and then there's supposed to be a tongue sticking out of his mouth, but it really just looks like a dick sticking out of the person head inside of the snack.
I think the monster designs are pretty sick. Of our monster designs, we get like 4 of them. Wait, at the end of each chapter, let's do best monster at the end, okay? Because there's like 4 new monsters this time, 5 if you count the weird little embryos, but we're not gonna. Let's do our favorite monster at the end.
Okay, we have to come up with the new things for this anyways. I wonder if there's always going to be like a monster, so we'll see.
We can do tier list of Guts, but I think we can also do how's Guts' therapy session going.
I really feel like Puck is a therapist.
Yeah, I mean, Puck does have empathic powers, so it makes sense.
And Puck is just trying to walk up through and just be like, "Come on, you got this,
come
buddy.
on, Mr. Guts Berserk."
Also, buddy, you're a total asshat and stuff. Like I called you an asshat earlier.
His mental health scale from 1 to 10. Someone did delete your art. I don't want to delete all of it because, like, that's all I've done today. Like, that would be everything, and I would only have an hour left. Let me think about this.
Delete his nose for sure.
The nose is exactly like it is in the reference image I'm looking at. You quit it.
Delete his jaw.
You quit it. The jaw is the wrong shape. That is true.
That's why I told you to delete it. And no, I'm not going to get into that.
You get out of here.
Okay, can we talk about a thing? And I don't know if you're gonna remember this or not.
We are allowed to talk about a thing. That is what we do at a book club.
I don't know if you're gonna remember this or not. And so I'm gonna read it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm gonna see if you remember this part and you can help me figure out why the shit they say it, okay? So he shot the head. What?
Today's a small delete your art, but you know what? We did delete some stuff. He shot the head, yes.
He shot the head inside the snack. He shot the body a whole bunch of times. The snack says, "I'm telling you the truth. Take your time and savor it as your body is slowly burned to ashes." So they're having this whole fighty thing. And then he's like, "Wait, please, I don't want to die. Help me." And then Puck is covering his little ears, and then the dude is dying, and Guts walks away with his cape blowing in the wind and his codpiece adjacent. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't say anything. There's no preamble. He's just walking away, and then Puck on the next page has a ellipses, a dot dot dot, and then he goes berserk. He says berserk.
Hey, can I tell you? Loud. I found that so silly, and I have no fucking idea what was happening. It was like he was.
What was going on?
So what I'm guessing is he was saying, "Wow, he just went berserk," and like Puck was so in awe of Guts that all he could think, like it was earlier when he was trying to like. My takeaway is the attempt of the writing was earlier he had tried to figure out what Guts was feeling. There is this deep combination of things, and he said, and there's something deeper. And he was saying, oh, I have now identified the something deeper. It is berserk. But instead it really does
that's not how it came out.
It does just come out as Puck being like, and now I'll say the title.
And now I'm just going to say the title on this page. I went back twice. I went, okay, I'm going to go back a little further. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go back a little further. Okay. And nope, still isn't cool.
No, I read it so many times. Like the best I could figure is that is Puck saying what the deeper emotion he felt inside of Guts was that he couldn't name. However, that it's not, it just comes across as him. It does come across as that bit, the joke of like, you see someone walking away from a hit job and you hear the scream from the house as someone finds the body, and the guy's walking away and he goes, "The Godfather Part 2."
Yeah, exactly. That's what it felt like. And I was like, no, dude, that's weird. I wish Puck instead had gone, he went in the first panel, instead of dot, 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 it should have gone, he went and then dot, dot, dot. And then the next panel, berserk. And then I would have been like, dude, he totally did. That's a good point. And thank you for that, because now I see it.
Instead, it's like, reminder of what you're reading, bud. Berserk.
And now it's time for station identification. But I also was after that page, we went back into the other type of drawing that he does. And I like that he chooses to do that, because it's almost like he does a flex that he's like, well, I have to draw a bunch of panels and I'm going through this style and I'm blah, blah, blah. And then he, at the beginning of each thing, he kind of gets to flex and do that super dark, based mostly in black paneling. Mm-hmm. And then he goes into a shadowy, mostly in gray paneling before he goes back into the traditional style. Because somebody says it's giving the K word. The K word is a C word to most of you people, but I think it's far too hard of a sound to be a C. And I also prefer the K word to the V word, because vagina means sheath for a sword, and I don't like it.
Hey, dude, if you were gonna live your life based off etymology being good or bad, I mean, that is so much you gotta pick through.
I do, and it lives rent free in my brain, because
there's so much etymology that's really dumb.
I know, but that's why I want to get rid of the word vagina.
Victory, I'm pretty sure, or sorry, not victory. What is it? Oh God, what's the word that it's just a Roman parade, and now we use it to mean like any victory? I can't. It's on the tip of my fucking tongue. God, this is gonna kill me.
I can't remember, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, anyway, it's gonna kill me. It's gonna kill me. Triumph was a Roman parade. Triumph.
A Roman parade.
This was
there's this one where Puck is sitting on the bird. I think it's an owl. It might be a dove. It's a dove. And he goes, "Thanks, mister." But just before he gets off, he's basically giving blue steel. Like, honestly, it's such modeling pose on top of the bird. It's almost ridiculous. But anyways, I was like, dude loves to flex him some arts. And I'm here for his arts flexins.
He's very good.
But I also enjoy it because he draws Puck like no shade, open body, just an outline, and then he goes hard on Guts. And Puck is always no shade, no nothing, just very open. And I love it, because it makes, to me, that's where I started to think about it being that Guts is the darker side of him as a man and Puck is the lighter side of him as a man, because it looked like, you know, the less complicated version of who he was, and the darkness has all the attention right now, and therefore all of the detail. That's kind of how it felt like. Yeah.
Oh.
Vagina
Yeah.
Pyag.
Yeah, I mean, no, but the auto mods will stop it. They can't type it. Don't judge them for the words they use. Auto mod says.
Vagina.
You're gonna get us demonetized.
Vagina.
You're gonna demonetize us.
For saying vagina?
Look, Puck might Puck might look like a fairy, but Puck also keeps saying Puck's an elf. Hey, what do we think the deal with Mr. Guts Berserk's weird elf ears is?
I think that he's part elf. That's what.
Think he's part elf?
You made him look more like Trudeau.
This is my new OC, Justin Trudeau with a sword. Original character, do not steal.
He's half elf. I think he's elf in some way.
I think demon blooded, some sort of demon infection, demon, you know.
Whoa, man! My grandkids have pointy ears. What are you saying about them?
Yeah, those are going away.
What's up with the shaved head tops? Because it doesn't just look shaved like they normally do. They're all red. It almost looks skinned. It's so.
What are you talking about?
You know, all the dudes in here who have monk-like hair where you shave the top and leave the bottom?
Yeah.
It looks less shaved and more skinned and like healed over after being skinned, like ritualized. It doesn't look just shaved.
I didn't notice this at all, so I can't contribute meaningfully to that. But I mean, this
You could
seems
just
like a
look on
fucked up
page
world.
108 and you can see it.
Hmm.
Just before the evil Christmas tree page. Doesn't look like it constipated. It does that later with the other dudes who have quote unquote shaved head tops.
We should talk about the Count and his storyline so that we get through that in today's 2-hour allotted time.
We're literally almost there.
Okay.
They kill he goes into the happy ass horse carriage. He thinks he's gonna have a sleepies. He's not gonna have a sleepies.
No, he's gonna have an all-night zombie party.
And here's what I found really interesting. I wrote down on this page. So the evil tracks him into the drip of water and births itself into this world, and it will drag his subconscious through hell, even in his dreams. And so it made me realize that not only can it attack his body in the real world and birth itself as an ugly demon embryo, but it also at the same time will drag his subconscious. So sleep would be the literal worst thing that he did, because his subconscious sleeping unconscious form will be dragged through hell while his body will be beat upon.
Not great.
That's a terrifying existence. Like,
It's
no wonder
no
dude's an
wonder he's having a
asshole.
hard time. Yeah, Puck is like, "Why are you a dick to everybody?" And he's like, I'm
tired.
constantly assaulted and tortured by demons. That is my existence. I am
Exhausted, you
I am
asshole.
hunted by creatures beyond mortal bounds at all times forever. The hells themselves chase me. Creatures that most people believe don't exist hunt me beyond limits, beyond mortal limits.
Exactly.
At all
He
moments
just
of my
needs a
life.
nap. If he could just have one nap, he'd be good to go.
It feels like this is a boy who could have been such a good boy. Like, there's so much kindness and warmth that wants to exist in him. And he has clearly had a life of nothing but torment. And I think that's so much of the tragedy of Berserk, is that, like, you can see these glimmers of what a nice and good person he could have been, if not, raised in a mercenary band, likely betrayed by his best friend is the vibe we're picking up from the Griffith situation, and like tormented endless. So it feels like what the series is trying to say is that Griffith, to ascend, had to betray and sacrifice the things he cared about, and Mr. Berserk was one of them.
I'm also
Which is how
concerned
we
that
got Brandon.
I'm concerned that everyone else gets extra penis and he gets none, because on page 122 his hand is in a way where you would be able to see like Shadow Ballsack, and it's Kendall.
It's just because he's jumping.
No, he's
No,
not
he's
jumping
jumping so much.
You wish. And then in page 124, where we see a full shadow of his inner thighs, there ain't nothing there.
Yeah. Like this kid clearly could have been a good dude. But yeah, he was born out of a hanged corpse raised to be a mercenary from birth, has had 2 dead mothers in the one chapter of his backstory we've read so far. I believe was made to be a sacrifice so his friend could ascend to demon god. Um,
Yep.
so and everyone else made 2 sacrifices, so I guess probably more than that happened.
Yep.
Um, and now is marked as a sacrifice forever. Like this poor guy, no wonder he's a dick. I feel sad for him.
I just wish that they could just
Okay, wait,
honestly
sorry. Odd D user, his sword is larger than a Honda Civic, and now you're asking if he's compensating for anything?
it's a good point. It's definitely compensating. There ain't no shadow, and dude's not in anything that cold. It's a subconscious layer. Um, I just am asking for him to get like 2 nights good sleep before he moves on and has to fight another demon. I just think that's fair.
Let the guy nap. Let him have a good one.
Just give him just what does it say? Needs to create a philosophy that works with his. Oh, yeah. I really enjoyed this one, page 162, where he says, like I said, anyone who gets killed because they got up in someone else's fight is a small fry. If they can't live their life freely, they're better off dead. Those two didn't have the strength to protect themselves from a walking disaster like me, and that's all there is to it. If you're always worried about crushing the ants beneath you, you won't be able to walk. And I was thinking how interesting it is that he needs to create a philosophy that allows him to live within the curse that's been put upon him.
Yeah,
So
because
he creates philosophy and talks about it over and over again as a way of being able to deal with the fact of who he is and how he affects others now.
because not letting himself die, fighting on to kill Griffith, he is going to be constantly killing everyone around him incidentally without wanting to or meaning to. And he has a need to have a way of being okay with it. This is his justification that, like, well, this is a dark world and you need the strength to protect yourself. But it's also interesting because several times now he's being saved by Puck. We have realized he is having to realize over and over again that he can't succeed. His mission is too big to do alone and he needs help. He probably would have died earlier if not for fucked up McGee.
Yeah, exactly. And so right after that, it shows him kind of running away through the forest, and Puck goes guts, and then he looks around at the trees blowing in the wind and all of the bones on the floor, and he goes, "This is the world that Guts lives in." And that's the first time that I said to myself, like, "Oh, am I looking at 2 sides of mental health? That Guts is the sickness, and this is the world that he exists in, and Puck exists in a world outside of this." And that's why it felt like a mental illness to me, because Puck was standing outside of it and looking in at Gut's world and saying like, "Oh, this is the world he lives in," even though Puck himself was also involved in this. Lab said something. If I were thinking about it in a mental health sense, we don't get a choice about sleep and when demons show up. That is an absolute truth, Lav. And so, like, anxiety and trails of panic come when they come, and you don't get to tell them not to, even if you're exhausted. So it kind of really felt like that when I was looking at the way that Puck was staring after Guts as he was walking away from their fight in the brand. The brand. Like, there's so much human eating in this story. Is it just me, or do we eat a lot of humans up in the house?
I don't know about you. I haven't ate any humans so far during the story.
Like, I haven't. I haven't.
There's a
But I
lot of
feel like
people eating.
but
Some sort of
there's a lot of
statement about evil people being those who consume the good of others. Can we talk about briefly how in the section with the count we bring up the idea of like pagans, which suggests there is a Christian style monotheistic God? And I
there
feel like
appears
this if demons are real, God is probably real. God can't be a good guy, right? Like there's no way this is a world where
no,
God is a chill and nice entity, right?
God no. Look at this.
Yeah, look at the world we're allowing to happen. Like I think I think God is just going to be a different kind of bastard. Like a bastard who's like, yeah, my rules are absolute and play by them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he also won't be omnipotent probably, but like, yeah.
I'm trying to find out the name.
But the existence of pagan faith it makes me think that there is a monotheistic dominant deity.
I would agree, and he sucks or she sucks. Whoever they are, they suck.
Well,
And why does everyone look like Baron Harkonnen when they're bad in this story? Everyone
um,
looks like the bad guy who's the Spice King in Dune. Like we flip the page and it's like, oh, yep, there he is again, Baron Harkonnen. Okay, this is why I thought we cut the heads. I'm not wrong.
uh-huh.
I am right. I am right. That's my I am right song. I just made it up just now for this moment. If you go
Okay.
to page 172 and you're looking at the pathetic little weasel that is the underling right hand butt kisser with who also has that same hair thing. He doesn't have any hair. He's a bald person. So you think being bald would be enough, but instead he has a cut clearly that's been cut the entire way around his head and has been healed and there's a scar there. And that's what made me
Weird.
think that's what made me think that the other people had actually had some sort of skin thing going on. Yeah.
I I
Yeah,
find
no, Rafe, Dune is older than all of any of this stuff. Dune is very old.
Dune is very, very old. It's what Warhammer 40K bit off to be what it is.
And so I think that they do a cutty thing.
That makes sense. This feels like the type of world where a religion would do that. I find it funny that we find out the evil count before he became a demon still looked all fucked up with his giant head. It's so funny to me.
Yeah,
His head is so
he
big.
looks like the family still. Dune is 1965.
His head is so fucking big when he's apparently like a good normal dude, and it's so like, did no one look at him and go, "Hey man, what's up? What's wrong? Why is your head like 3 times the size of anyone else's head? What is going on?"
I don't know if that's a cap. It doesn't look cappy. It looks cutty.
I thought it was a cap. I debated it being a cap or a cut looking at it, but
So gross. Ugh, and the whole holding the girl's head up, this whole thing was just nasty assy. See, he puts blood into his ouchie.
it's demon
Yeah,
time.
look. Page 179. He looks at the fact that this person was clearly sacrificed because it's got the demon pattern on it. Do people
Oh,
get this
what if it's the
demon
opposite of
pattern
summoning the demons? What if it needs to feed on his blood to not summon demons to him? What if that's how he keeps them
and
at
to
bay?
protect him?
Like,
Drunk?
maybe that's why the demon thing showed up, and then immediately after waking up, he gouged himself and fed the cut.
Yeah,
Maybe the
drunk.
brand, if it's being fed blood, isn't hungry enough to call him in, to call in the backup.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
And
no,
don't
there's
you like
definitely classic sci-fi inspirations. I agree. H.R. Geiger is clearly an inspiration for this man's monster designs.
I really enjoy too that um the Baron Harkonnen here is like, "What is this mark?" as if he doesn't know. Oh, there's a mark of heretic on this girl's face, almost like she was like, I don't know, sacrificed.
That's so bizarre
He
that that
slits his
happened.
own throat with his little fingies and rubs it in. And then they squish her head and her eyeballs pop out because wait, aren't we supposed to be doing this in a happy way?
It
Do
did
you want me
look
to
like
try
he
to
was
say
beating him
that?
blood.
Do you
What's
want me
that?
to
What are
try
you
to say
doing?
that in a happier way?
Mhm.
And then the Baron does a joke, which is super funny to him. You might not understand it because, humor is different, but he squishes the woman's head who he just had decapitated and her eyes bulge out. And he throws it on the ground and he laughs and he laughs. And he says to himself, ah, good times, good times.
Dude, I didn't expect the Baron to be at all a tragic figure with how fucked up he is and starts out being, but there by the end he was kind of a tragic villain, and I really enjoyed that.
Give any shits. I was like, your wife wasn't even having sex with a person. She was having sex with a statue. Get over yourself.
I mean, yeah, but she was part of an evil. Hey guys, what's a good stand-in for the O word that YouTube and Twitch are going to be okay with?
Organized sexual escapade.
Yeah, she was part of an organized sexual escapade worshiping dark gods. Like that's problematic.
I mean, you know, everyone has a different kink. The problem was is she didn't talk to him first to have consent as a couple.
It
Don't
is
kink shame
interesting.
people.
It is interesting to
See?
me I don't know. The part that makes him still a tragic villain is that, like, he still couldn't bring himself to kill her himself, and the sacrifice was in this, like, very heated moment, and he lost the human empathy to care afterwards, and even in a similarly dark moment, I'd say a darker moment, having seen what that sacrifice is, couldn't do that to his daughter. I think if he'd sacrificed his daughter, all, like, sympathy would be gone for the man, but the fact that he was condemned to hell instead of sacrificing her makes him a tragic villain to me, that, like, oh yeah, if you didn't catch this guy at his worst point, at his lowest point, he wouldn't have fallen. Like, it was because the god hand showed up and we're like, hey, you want demon magic at literally his lowest point is why this happened.
I still think he sucks. We need to move forward faster because we need to cover
We
so
don't have
much
much
more.
time. Yeah, that's what I've been
But
saying.
I thought it was really weird that Puck keeps being drawn to him. Like Puck could have pissed off at any point and been like, okay, this is the inside of Guts' life. But it felt like after the moment that Puck saw the inside of Guts' life and what he sees and how he lives, that now the tragedy of his life is something that he can't unsee. And he feels like he is part of it and has to help him through because he can't believe the way in which this man is living and the quality of the life that he has.
Yeah. I I think there's like I think also the fact that he's several times saved him now. He sees this person he sees as both incredible and cruel and dangerous, but sees that he will fail in whatever this mission is that's so important to him without help. If he's on his own, he's not going to make it. In the small ways Puck has been helpful, he's saved Guts.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Like at this
Hmm.
point, just if he's on his own, he won't make it. There's been like 3 or 4 times now that, hey, end of the journey. Bye. Puck wasn't here. Was what was going to happen without Puck's intervention.
I agree. But I think it's interesting that for some reason, Puck feels drawn to be a part of that.
Yeah. Puck, it
Eh,
seems like Puck is supposed to force him to become better. And then he'll probably get worse again because mental illness is not a one-way road to recovery. And also, some more sads are going to hit you, and you can only have the tragedy and pain people described this series bringing if you have hope and love.
Ooh, thank you. Yeah, I would agree. And Bell, and then sitting here said that they can see the mental health connection. The curse almost feels like a chronic illness of sorts.
Yeah,
Um,
chronic illness,
Constantly trying to cope with it, deal with
chronic
the
depression.
philosophy. Yeah, and his flesh is constantly yeah, exactly. This is exactly what I was saying. Thank you, sitting. I
I
wanna
mean,
I'm gonna take a screenshot of that to put it elsewhere
it's
later on because
interesting
that's
because it feels like
precisely
a Polish set of short stories and a Japanese comic book aren't going to interact with each other, but yet there's a lot of similar things in Geralt that he tells a story about chronic pain, chronic illness, and effectively autism is a lot of what the story of The
well,
Witcher comes down to.
well, in this one, the reason why I think that it's a showing of mental illness is I really did feel like Puck is drawn to him because Puck can't leave him because he is the mentally healthy part, worried that if he just lets the mentally sick part go off on his own, that he'll get worse and worse until Puck doesn't exist. Puck is already much smaller than Guts and see-through and light and not colored in as much, and Guts becomes more and more real. So it almost feels like Puck is like, no, I have to go with this fucker. We're in
There's
trouble
this
here.
there's this thing early on about how, like, we see people at their worst, what they're capable of and what they're not capable of, and we see that at his worst, the Baron or the Count, that was taking your term from Baron Harkonnen, the Count
Well,
isn't able to himself kill his wife and able to even not himself sacrifice his daughter. And we see Guts, despite saying he hates Puck, even when he's being triggered by being touched without permission, Guts won't kill Puck, has yet to kill him, has yet to even really threaten his life, is being physical and aggressive with him because that's the only way he knows how to interact with people. But
exactly.
he won't kill him. He's not really permanently hurting him.
So we meet little dude who's in the basement who's been eaten and has had his wife and his sons eaten in front of him. And he has the thing called the Bella Let or whatever, Bell Hellet. I'm thinking now that I see the Bell Hellet, which is kind of an Escher-esque thing, that there is a possibility because they called it a key. A key?
Yeah, and it was seemed to be what made the dude able to call the God Hand forth and make another deal with them.
But there's 5 God Hand. I think there's gonna be 5 Bell Halette.
Okay, I could see it. The God Hand being 5 makes sense if they're a hand, if they're each of the fingers, right?
Exactly. Because it's a God Hand, 5 fingers, 5 Bell Halette, 5 ways of calling. And
Apparently
so I think
pronounced
you
Behelit.
right. So I think you call what you have. Like, maybe they'll all come, but maybe there's 1 for each of them.
Hmm.
I'll tell you what I think about them. I don't really like them.
The Behelit. Okay, Behelit,
Bell
Behelit,
Halette.
whatever. Um, I look, guys. I love the design of the face egg. I wanted to draw it this week, but it wouldn't be as good of a thumbnail as Mr. Guts Berserk himself having his rough first day.
I wrote about the sword. Why do we keep repeating this? Because it did it again. So I'm telling you, it feels like either a narration from the future or a
Mhm. I
verse
think
of a
it's from the
song
past. I think it's something someone said in the past to describe it, like when it was
or
being
something like
bestowed
that.
to Guts or when he was first seen with it, that we are seeing in place of other people describing it, like to become myth, basically. I think Guts in
Yeah.
the future. So it is in the future and the past. I think it's both.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because it's the myth of Guts being told, and it's how it's been described in the past. I think it is just the myth of the sword of the Black Swordsman.
And then he flips out on that dude, but he not only just flips out. So I thought that he had been sexually assaulted. And then on the time on page 256, where he literally snaps it, he goes berserk. And somehow Puck doesn't just say the word berserk out of nowhere. So that
Isn't
was
it
weird.
weird that Puck didn't say
Mm.
Berserk?
I
Puck
was
should
like,
say it at
come
the end
on,
of
Puck.
every chapter. At the end of every chapter, Puck should
Don't let me
remind us
down.
what we're
Don't let me
reading.
down. Don't let me down. So then he leans forward and he touches him in a very normal kind of way. He's like, for the past 7 years, I've waited for that moment. Please, he says, and he grabs him by the shoulder, avenge me. And not only does he scream out, don't touch me, he then goes off and is like, you make me sick. Don't you ever touch me like that again. Look at you. You're like a monster.
I
Have
mean,
you
it felt
seen
like he
yourself?
needed to justify his reaction. Like he's calling a monster because he's like, I need to justify what I just did. You're gross. I don't like you. Like he needs to hide
It's even
the trauma.
more than that, though. It's also because he's taken control of his own life again. He's saying, like, "I get to choose who touches me, and the feel of you makes me sick. You're disgusting." And he lashes out all the fear, the anger, the hatred, the all of the things that have been done to
Hey
him. He
guys,
lashes out at this person as a way of managing his emotions. It's almost like meditation, angry meditation.
hey guys, I need people to tell me. Yeah, I think you're right. I need people to tell me what color the wrap on Mr. Berserk's sword is, and also I need people to tell me what color his scarf is.
Nice. And so it felt like an angry meditation where he was like grounding himself. That's the word I was looking for. Bloody white, gray wrap. Bloody, dirty white, and gray wrap. So it felt to me like he was trying to ground himself, and the grounding comes in this anger and this lashing out. And I was like, yeah, that is a sexual assault victim right there.
This poor man.
The the idea that you can cut and cut the demons and that different parts of them keep coming out and they can continue to attack you and so many of them look phallic. It's like an angry sex toy when dude comes in who was in the army and he cuts off his arm and then spews forth all the demon things. I'm like, oh, that looks like the world's largest, angriest sex toy is what that looks like right there.
I have to imagine it's harder to like Demon Slayer if you've read Berserk because of how much of the dialogue feel now that I've read some Berserk in Demon Slayer feels like it's just like kind of a knockoff of the dialogue from Berserk.
Oh, that's interesting. Give Bellamy a treat. That's
Like
very
so much of the
interesting.
dialogue in Demon Slayer is like, how do you, a mortal, you get down, come over here. How do you, a mortal, think you can stand up to a demon? You're fragile and I can keep being alive. It is a paint by numbers shonen, but very specifically, the conversation with demons are just every conversation with a demon from Berserk, which did it like 30 years prior.
I have a feeling that this story is going to be I don't know if I'm gonna read Demon Slayer then.
Demon Slayer is interesting
Ew.
because it's very paint by numbers, but the execution is very good. It's well told.
But
It's
there's
good
so
enough.
many
There's some cool
manga to
shit.
go through, right?
That's the
Like,
issue. There's so many manga to go through, and by the time you've been through them all, Demon Slayer won't feel like it offers anything new. I think it is a great first shonen for a teenager getting into the genre because it has heart and the characters are compelling. But like, if you read everything else, it kind of feels like there's not that much of a point because it doesn't add anything that crazy to the lexicon. It's like if you haven't read anything else, it's a lot better than if you have.
yeah, okay. I
It's
don't
like
think I will
how
then.
from what I've heard from people, Reservoir Dogs, if you're really into like that genre of action, not Reservoir Dogs. Which one am I thinking of that everybody's I forget. There's the movie that's like that genre. Fucking whatever. The point is,
Pulp
it's good if you haven't read
Fiction?
all the things it draws inspiration from.
Pulp Fiction? Which one are you talking about?
I
What are
don't
you
think I'm
is it an
talking about Pulp
action?
Fiction.
Are you talking about Deer Hunter?
No.
Pulp Fiction?
There's a movie in that genre of like Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, that genre of like gritty, um, sort of comedic dramas, flippant dramas that I've heard from people is like a lot of people's, oh, this is the best movie until you see all the things it's taking from. And then you're like, oh, this is just a collection of things the director likes.
How I feel about new songs, and I realize the reason that every generation
It
is like,
might
"Are
be
you
Boondock
kidding me?"
Saints. That might be the one that I've heard that. I have yet
Maybe.
to see the movie I've heard that of. I've seen a bunch of its inspirations is the thing.
All I know is that's exactly how I feel about music all the time, that as I'm listening to music, I understand why older people used to be like, "Yeah, this is just a rip off and blah, blah, blah." Same thing because I started listening to old records of, like, people I'd never listened to, shit that was made in the '40s and '50s, and I was like, "Oh, my generation stole this riff, and then the next generation stole it again and sampled it out."
Ain't that
Um,
just
okay.
human reality? Ain't we all just learning from each other?
Just the way. Okay, so on page 284, or the pages before 284 to like 82 to 284, I was like, "Oh, I love this relationship between Puck and the ugly Eaton dude." And then I was like, that ugly Eaton dude is gonna die. I'm just gonna say for this story from now on, when I like anyone or there's just a moment where they're like, "Hey, do you want to like this person? You should start liking this person." I'm just gonna
I
not.
was so shocked when Teresia or whatever her name was didn't die at the end. Like shocked.
Like I was like, "There's still time," because I was like, "Okay, the fact that we, like this guy means he's gonna die." Then on 284, Puck is so enthralled, he's like, "He's incredible. I always knew that he was tough, but it seemed like he was just swinging his sword around wildly. But now I realize he's a master swordsman," and it's bolded out. And the way they did it has his cape over top of his sword and it's sticking right out at dick level. So this is not me. I showed your dad and I was like, "Hey, can I just show you an image?" And he was like, "Wow, nice dick." So, I wanted to make sure it wasn't just me. It's the most ridiculous pose I've ever seen. It
Like
actually, I was
that's
like,
just a cool sword pose. It's just a
I
that's
wish we
a
had
sword
drawn this
stance.
one. No, it would have been a cool sword pose if his cape wasn't over top of it and it wasn't lifting his cape
Look,
up and
I gotta
sticking.
be real. I gotta be real. I can't begin to tell you what a good martial arts stance would be with this sword because it is so impractically big that I can't begin to imagine
No.
what that would look like.
All we had to do is take his cape off of the front of him, and it would have been absolutely fine. The whole sword would have been out there in its splendor, including the hilt, and it would have been like, "He is a master swordsman." And instead, he was holding his member with his cape over it. And I was like, "No need." I keep forgetting that we keep getting to see this disgusting bug slash embryo coming out of the side of that dude's head like a tumor, which is completely right because it is. Thank you, Carly. Carly went to that page and also agreed. It
So
just needs to pull away the cape.
from what I
It is
understand,
a tumor.
for the people saying his sword is too big to lift for a normal person to lift, from what I understand, the sword is 300 pounds, which means there are many humans who could lift it. And I think like four people on Earth who could hold it like a sword, and not a single
No,
one of them could swing it like a sword.
no.
Like I think there is a lot of people who could, there's a lot of very strong people who could lift up this sword. Could they lift it up as though it were a sword? No, there are probably like a dozen strong men who could lift this up in a sword pose and then drop it.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay,
I'm talking to the
ready?
people who can deadlift, like, over a half ton. Those dudes could probably lift it up like a sword briefly.
Which is okay if you want to get into it, which is why I'm mentioning the dick pose with the cape over it, because it felt like they were trying to say, like, he's the manliest man, and it's an extension of him, and it's the thing that gives him a dick. I'm wondering if he doesn't have one.
His dick is like his robot arm. It's just it's a cybernetic prosthesis.
Exactly. And I also think it's very interesting. It feels like all the demons are treated like a type of sickness, because like when they come out of the bodies, it almost looks like they're cancerous. They're growing out of strange places. They continue to grow the more they feed off of things. They look kind of cancery and tumory in a way. And so it started to make me feel like they're almost like a sickness, the demons. We got to move along.
We do.
Moving along. Okay, so he gets into the castle, and he a bunch of shit happens, and it's happening.
Look, he fights Halberd Man. Who cares? Halberd Man's dead. He
No one
makes
really
it.
gives a shit about Halberd Man.
Yeah, Halberd Man's there to be a mini boss. He kills a bunch of soldiers. They're dead now. The important part
Old
is Puck
man,
meets
old
Teresia.
man, unsurprisingly, old man dies.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Guts decides to go and watch it, and then that's when you realize that idea that you had, that if he had been raised in a good way with people who loved him, he had the recipe of a human being to be really wonderful, because it was clear that he knew, I can't go in there because it is a trap, obvs. But on the other hand, he goes and he finds his skull or his head in the pile of dead bodies, and he just takes a moment,
True.
even though he knows
I thought we were
if
skipping
he's
ahead.
gonna be
Okay.
there, even though he knows when he goes there to where all the dead people are, he's definitely going to be bothered by the dead. He knows that when he goes to a place, he's bothered by the dead. And
The
so I thought
demons
it was
will take
very
residence in the dead. They will come up to get him. Yeah.
precisely. So he still chooses to go there so he could take a moment to hold the actual head rather than just talking to his spirit, and says, I am going to avenge you. And I thought that was a pretty good showing of who he could have been, not who he was.
It also makes up for him not trying to save him, because he's like, yeah, I couldn't avenge you if I got killed in that trap. I am going to succeed.
Exactly. Meeting Teresia or whatever the hell her name is, and having her have the elf and let Puck out, because, Puck knows, or she knows, she feels how Puck would feel. I immediately was like, oh, this chick's gonna die.
I was so ready for Teresia to die. I was like, sorry, but girl, you're in the wrong book.
Yeah, you happen to be in a book you shouldn't have been. And then they changed the page, and Father, of course, couldn't allow it without permission, and he refused their demands. And then we look at a picture, and what is the picture? Demon statue, giant penis, snakes coming around it. And I was like, this book be loving itself some giant penis.
I mean,
statues.
it makes sense if a monster inspiration is H.R. Geiger, and then on top of that, it makes sense because a lot of its inspiration is mythology from around the world, which I don't know if you know.
Little did I know that we would get much more of the monster penis later on, and that I was just
very true, very true.
One. Page 419, by the way, is one of the greatest poses of Guts. His cape is off to the side, and his sword of 90,000 pounds is over his shoulder. It was one of my very favorite pictures. That's how I want to see Guts. That's how I'm going to think of Guts.
Okay.
If you saw it. And then I was like, now we're getting into some places. And then I changed the page, and the Baron of Spice was sitting there, and a giant demon decided to come out of his dickish area. And I was like, what the hell with this book and the penis lore?
This is going to keep being brought up, huh?
You know what? This is establishing dick piece, and then we can move on.
I mean, it wouldn't be dick piece, it would be dick zerk.
Dick Zerk? No. Prick Zerk? No. Pinzerk? Someone has to come up with something. Janet? No. There's something there. There's room for some really good thing there. I don't know what it is. Nude Zerk? No, because it's mostly just dicks everywhere. Berserk? That's not bad.
There is female nudity, but the thing about the dicks is there's a lot of symbolic dicks as well.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's not a lot of symbolic vagine, and there's not a lot of symbolic boob, but there is a lot of symbolic
the boobs are literal.
Yeah, the boobs are just there. They're like, I'm out. Balzerk is not bad.
Balzerk is actually kind of funny.
um, so when he goes and he's fighting the Baron, I was like, this is actually we're not gonna see the Baron a whole bunch more. Baron was ripped away, right?
Baron got zoinked, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, so that's definitely not our buggy. Baron went bye-bye.
I mean, look, hell could keep coming up.
I mean, they could use the Baron, but they said that he would lose Berserk, lose all his humanity and kind of like forget who he was. Yeah, I guess they could like drip him into the real land if they wanted to.
Yeah, the god. Look, their name is the God Hand. I feel like that's got to be a group who can do some shit.
Hmm. I thought it was weird that he decided to go full monster in front of the little girl and
Well, he didn't
show
want to
her
go full
that.
monster in front of the little girl. She showed up when she wasn't supposed to because the door was
I know,
broken.
but he intentionally went over to that wall so that he could use her for ransom to stop her dad. So like he knew. And then once the little girl was there and Puck is like, "What are you doing in front of her?" He was like, "No, take a good hard look at a body that doesn't die," and continue to stab and stab him in front of the little girl. That was very intentional.
Yeah,
At
doesn't
first
want her to go down the same path. Like, hey,
and that's what I
don't
was
do
like,
this
"There's
shit.
no way."
Take a look at how
That's
fun this
why
is. You know what it's like to not die? It's to get stabbed repeatedly.
and I started to feel like maybe that this was going on because it was his way of saying to her, like, if you're going to go down the same path of hatred, this will be the same path of your life. But at the end, he leaves, and that is an unfinished pool because she's just like, somehow this is all your fault. It didn't start happening until you were here. And I'm like, come the shit on, man.
But that was
Come on.
so intentional by Guts. He just leaned into it and was like, "Yeah, fucking do it," because it's the only way he knew to save her. Because the only
Not
thing that
that
keeps.
part. I'm talking about when he kills her dad over and over before they go into hell.
Oh, okay, before they go to hell. I'll retract what I was going to say for a bit.
Yeah. And I agree with you on the other one. I already know where you're going, and I
Yeah.
totally go.
Well, you know what? Then I'm
Um,
going to say it. I'm going to jump ahead and say it, which is
Go
just
ahead.
so we don't forget. I think it's cool that, I mean, sure, he's fucked up and he's wrong about this, but because the only way he has to keep moving is hatred, he's like, sure, if it'll keep you alive, hate me. I will give you a reason to keep moving because that's what I have in this world.
Yeah, I would agree. And so that's what I thought when the reason that I thought that he decided to do the killies of her dad in front of them all, in front of her, I mean, is so that he could say, like, you're about to see or do things or see things, and you need to know how bad your dad was and how right you are and how you shouldn't mourn his death. Like he was trying to take control of the narrative of the mourning of who he was and be like, this is who your dad is. Like,
Yeah.
why would you mourn this shit? Right? That's what I decided anyways. The Guardians of Desire, when it was ended, we went into the God Hands. The God Hands are popping off.
I love
Griffith,
these designs. They are very, very, very good.
damn, Griffith's design is hot. I thought Griffith was a girl, and I'm kind of pissed that Griffith isn't because Griffith would make a wicked girl.
I think it's fun. I mean, he's a femboy. You see the flashback of him. He's a very feminine man.
He Hobbs, but I wanted him
I
to be a girl.
I love that most of them look like absolute fucked up maniacs, and then there's hot lady and hot man.
Griffith is my favorite though, 100%.
Griffith is the
Kind of
coolest
like
design there. I think I
kind of like
I
if
hot lady is
Batman
so
went off on a
close.
demon.
Hot lady is so close to being a great monster girl design, but she feels like not quite there. Like she's a little too basic.
Yeah, I would agree.
Like she's basic monster lady. She doesn't have the je ne sais quoi.
She also has a Medusa hair, and I'm kind
I'm
of
fine
like,
with Medusa hair. It's just like something about
no,
she needs a little bit
I
more.
don't mind dreads. What I'm doing is I wanted dreads to be on a good guy, not a bad guy, and I wanted that kind of like that look to be on a good person, and seeing it on the bad person was like, I don't want. You don't deserve this cool hair. I don't like your hair is too cool, and you don't deserve it. That's how I felt. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm Brain Dude just reminded me of what is
Mars
that
Attack?
movie?
Mars
Mars
Attack.
Attacks? Yes!
Yeah, same. That
Tell
is
me
just
Brain
Mars
Dude
Attack.
is in Mars
And Mars
Attacks.
Attack definitely got made after this, so I love the idea of Tim Burton being like a Berserk fan and being like, I'm gonna have Brain Dude be an alien in this.
I I thought the exact same thing. I was like, "Oh, please, Tim Burton, tell me that you got it from here because this is so Mars
He
Attacks."
just looks like the Mars Attack guy.
Yeah, I love that for us. This whole part being under hell gave us a lot of narrative about like what hell is and how it's happening. I don't like that they gave the little girl kind of almost breasts under her pajamas because I counted it out. She's 8 or 9 years old. Come on now, get a grip. Um, that's just perverted, and she does not have even the beginning of boobies. But I just loved her looking so small and alone on the floor while all of hell is falling apart behind her. Because it's hard to create foil in a piece like this. Like every part of it is so freaking dark that how do you create the proper foil so that it pops off dark enough?
Yeah.
So having her in there in all her innocence and her sadness and her wonder really helped to make everything else
Oh
pop
yeah,
off a little.
hell got to matter more because Teresia was there. Like without her being there, hell wouldn't have felt like hell.
You know what else wouldn't have had any kind of impact, in my opinion?
What?
Like I don't think that the orange juice scene where everybody was having a delicious drink of orange juice with the devil statue and each other would have had much
So is
impact
orange juice
unless
what we're gonna call those? That's really funny. So yeah, they were
yeah,
all having orange juice together. That's
everyone was
very funny.
having everyone was
They were all at the orange juice.
we're all having breakfast together and really enjoying a good drink of OJ. And
Well,
and
I think just so that the acronym is as close as possible to the sound we're aiming for, orange juice is spelt with a G.
100% orange juice can be spelt with a G, and it is hand squeezed orange juice. Um, that's what Odd User said. Full pulp, hand squeezed. It's amazing.
That's such a funny joke. Odd the user. What a good joke.
And so, it really, I wouldn't have given a shit. Like, I wouldn't have seen it as anything. It just would have been, I would have been like, yeah, there's some boobs, there's some people engaging in some fornication, whatever. But because right in the corner panel in the top right, there's a tiny little girl who
It
they
makes you
shouldn't have given
realize how fucked up it is.
it was way fucked up because of her.
You can desensitize yourself as a reader and be like, yeah, whatever. It's dark. It's gonna have the orange juice scene. However, having a child be forced to watch it does make you actually think about it from the perspective. Weirdly enough, it makes you think about it from the perspective of the husband to have a little girl forcing you to not desensitize and understand why he went fucking crazy. That he's the man who's been hunting pagan heretics over and over again. He comes back from doing it, thinking he's doing it to protect his family, and sees his wife at like the crown of the pagan orange juice.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened there for me. I wish they hadn't given her any breasts, like I said, because the little girl has breast in it. And I was like, you should have, you went too far, because this would have hit even harder. Like they took that down angle, so she looked super young. She's sitting there wide-eyed. All they had to do is make her look a little younger, no breasts at all, and I would have been like, oh my god, and turned the page as fast as I could, because it really was like I was just desensitized. I looked at that page and I was like, meh. And then I saw her and I was like, oh, I'm so uncomfortable right now.
Yeah, this series does a great job with perspective. I agree with you on her design a little bit, but I think it is a great decision because it'd be so easy to desensitize and not really stop and think about, yeah, that's why this man went crazy. And this is a fucked up thing we're looking at, if we weren't forced to be like, oh shit, this is all being shown to a little girl. And at first I even had the moment of like, why are you showing the little girl this? And then I went, they're demons in hell. Of course they're bastards.
Exactly.
Of course they don't stop and think about that this is rude. They're demons from hell.
No, if anything, they think about how effed up it is and they decide, yo, that's exactly where we're going, baby. And then when you flip the page and you're trying to run away from seeing her, you realize they're showing her all the scenes. So she's seeing these next two, and they made them high contrast, way darker, way lighter, high contrast. And then you're like, this is terrible. And then they did the best part. In the midst of a strange stench, that's exactly how you needed to start it. Because if you were going to try to make this any more horrific, you got to bring in all senses. Because if you don't bring in all the senses, I can desensitize myself. Senses stop desensitization.
The author really thought through how to drag you into the scene and make you feel this is fucked up.
God. I was like, you have really grown already as an author and artist, because you're already making it so that I wasn't able to desensitize myself.
The fact that without the demons pushing himself to kill her for him, Like,
Yeah.
he couldn't have killed his wife, and the fact that he didn't turn his daughter, both to me make this so much darker too, because if he was
Yes.
just a 100% fucked up guy who we can just say, "Yeah, you're a bastard," and not make it complicated in the slightest, I feel like this wouldn't have felt as dark and difficult as it did. But by, like, giving him the hesitation, by giving him the difficulty where without the demons preying on his vulnerability and his anger, offering to kill her for him and sacrifice her for power, he wasn't able to kill her. He still had that love. And even with
Yes.
their pressuring at his worst moment, knowing he would die and be condemned to lose himself to hell, he couldn't sacrifice his daughter when he looked at her. Like, he's humanized just enough that it hurts a bit. All of this hurts a bit. He's not just a monster. He was a monster, but that's not all he was. And that
I didn't see him as abusing her either. Like, somebody was saying that they thought that she would have been abused by him, and I saw her as the only pure thing left in his
it's the
life, that
only thing
he
he
is
wasn't
tainted and
abusive of.
demonic, and the only thing that he has still done or still had, any goodness left in it was her.
And I feel like the trapping in the room, yes, is abuse, but I feel like he was exclusively doing that so he could earn her trust, so that she didn't see what he'd become, like hiding
And
her from his evils. And that's obviously
and
terrible
keeping
because he's a
her
bastard, he's a
safe.
monster.
Probably also keeping her safe because he's done nothing but hurt others, and so
Oh
she's a
yeah,
very vulnerable
everyone
figure.
would go for her. That's true. That's his one vulnerability left.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
he has to keep her locked away so that nobody can get to her because of what occurred.
Like, he was a bastard, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't entirely a bastard, and that makes such a difference of how dark this feels. It wouldn't feel as difficult to swallow if he was just all around evil and was like, "I'll sacrifice my daughter. I'll sacrifice anything for power." Can I just say, the dialogue, I love the line where they're like, "We can't grant that request." And he's like, "Why?" And they're like, "Because you don't want him dead. We are the guardians of want, and your want is a petty want to not die. You don't hate that man. You are
Exactly.
afraid of that man." Like, we grant
Exactly.
desire and you don't truly want him dead. You just want him not to kill you, is such a hard line to just be like, "No, we can only grant your desires. You can't just come to me with this shit."
Yeah, exactly. That was brilliant.
Such a good line.
Speaking of brilliant writing, having the first time that we meet Griffith be where he says, "Hey, are you alive?" And okay, so hear me out. He goes, "Hey, are you alive?" "Yeah, more or less." "Man, you sure have the luck of the devil." And then he highlights luck, the, and devil. He puts them all in bold. And so we know that his luck is meeting the devil right now. And then he says, "Here," and the person has long blonde hair in the same way, and he's buried under all these bodies, and he reaches out to grab him. So this is where we see Guts be reborn again under the body of dead people, and have somebody with long blonde hair come and pull him out of death and bring him back into his second life.
Mm.
And so I'm wondering how many times we're going to see Guts be reborn under the body and the death of others.
Oh my god, because his first birth was out of the death of his mom. You're right. I didn't even think
Yeah.
about that. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Grizz's hair is
And
white, like platinum blonde. Oh, I mean, it's platinum blonde. Whatever. Let him.
fine.
Let a
Still the same
femboy be
idea.
blonde.
And in black and white, it's the same effect. I'm sorry. So he's under dead bodies being pulled back to life. So it's like another birth. So I felt like the meeting of this person Griffith, we were being told was, here's a new chapter of his life. Here's a rebirth into a new way that he's becoming again.
Man.
Griffith pops off and keeps talking, and I just want you to know that
Yeah.
A, I wanted Griffith to be a girl, but B, I was like, you know what, Griffith, you remind me of those adults in children's life who just say shit and think you're pontificating in a way that is actually giving them strength and helping to find a philosophy that can move them forward. And all you're doing is just saying shit to have your mouth run off because you want to feel elite and you know this kid looks up to you already.
Mhm.
And it really reminded me of how easy it is for these types of adults to manipulate and use children.
I'm
And I was like,
also
"Ugh, I
I'm also
hate you."
not surprised Griffith turned out to be a demon god if his motivation in the world was just to see how much he could accomplish.
Yes,
Like, yeah, of
exactly.
course you ended up as a demon god. Your entire motivation was to see how cool you could become. You just
Not
wanted to
only
see the
that,
limits of potential, you bastard.
for me, it was this moment here where he said, "You're the first person I've ever spoken to like this." At that time, he shone before me as something beautiful, noble, and larger than life. And I was like, oh, that way of telling children you're so special. I've never talked to anyone like this before.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, you're right. That's such a sociopath thing to do, of just talking. Yeah, that manipulative shit of, oh, you're special.
You're
look
more
how cool
special
I am.
than everyone
You're
else.
so special to me.
And narcissists do it to people all the time, women to men, men to women. People who are narcissists pull that shit off on other people. Like, I could never open up to anyone before like this, but you're so amazing. I just find myself talking about myself in a way I never have before. Shut up.
Fucking Griffith. Can I just say, first chapter notwithstanding, it's kind of crazy how much depth and specificity we're able to find in such a dialogue sparse piece already, like this early on.
Yeah, that is not a lie.
Like,
that is
don't get me wrong, we
not a
found so
lie.
much depth in One Piece and Undead Unluck for sure, but it wasn't in our first stream, and both of our first streams for those were similar length of what we read to this. One Piece a little bit more, but not much.
If you look at the thing though, Art, they have enough of an age gap when you're looking at he's bent over going to give him his hand, and then you look at the way they do Guts, there is enough of an age gap. This
Let's
person
be honest,
exactly.
kids who are barely older do that shit to younger kids all the time, and it's not like Guts. It's not like Guts has had a robust social life growing up that's taught him how to watch out for this shit.
Oh, he's had a robust social life. It just hasn't been a good one.
I mean, a robust in the way of he has fought to the death with a lot of different people.
Exactly.
That
Escher world though is cool. So good.
It also, that's a good Jesus Christ, Demon Slayer, how much of this are you going to bite off? They have a demon world ruled by a femboy demon king that looks like an MC Escher painting. Demon Slayer, what the fuck are you doing?
No doubt, dude. No doubt.
What the fuck? Oh my God. And his servants come up to him and are like, hey, Demon Lord Femboy, can I have power? And he goes, maybe. Like, it's fucking Demon Slayer. Stop biting this shit.
It's inspired, says Carly. The way that Guts gets out when he fires off that cannon thing, and then it flashes in his old friend Griffith's eye, and he manages to escape and tumble back into quote unquote reality.
Yeah.
That was all really, it was great, but it felt like I was missing something. I don't know how to say it.
It happened a little quickly. It happened a little.
So I wondered whether, if because it happened so quickly, there's something we don't know about the way to break a spell to leave hell. Like, is there a thing we don't know? I hope
we find out something there.
I do too. Because I was like, I think we rushed by 2 pages. We're missing 2 pages, it feels like.
I feel like also, so we've talked about Guts inspiring her to live on. I think I want to not talk about Guts' backstory much because we've only read 1 chapter of it. And I want to save that for next week when we have the full thing, more or less.
Fair enough. But I do want to say that, and we don't have to talk about it. I already talked about how it's
we talked about a lot of it. Like, we've already talked about him being born of a corpse.
About the way it ends with her. Like, I didn't love it. And we've already talked about the way he was found and stuff.
Yeah.
And that it proved that immediately when that incident happened, I was like, oh, yep, no, I was not wrong. He was definitely the victim of sexual assault. And we are seeing that moment. But I agree. Let's go into his backstory afterwards. Are you ready to rock and roll?
PB Tenchi, you're not wrong. Part 1 of JoJo's is the only JoJo's I've seen. It's inspired by that. There is no way it's more inspired. Every dialogue with a demon is taken right from Berserk. The whole, how can you immortal fight me, a demon? I'm immortal, your limits, blah, 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 blah. Like every single fight in Demon Slayer, just 1 for 1 is copying the shit from Berserk. Like I will say there is definite inspiration from JoJo Part 1, the only JoJo I've seen, but God, Demon Slayer has bit off so much from this already, and I'm barely into this.
Even, I don't know that. Kids, so I can't talk to it. Kids in my class, though, have been saying, like, kids who found out that Berserk is the one that we're doing next are like, oh, that's going to be hard for you.
So... Let's do where are we ranking Guts for now? I think we got to start this off at this.
I have a top 5 idea.
What's your top 5? I wanted to do our grading for Mr. Guts Berserk first, and I think he's like a C+, and this is our definition of a passing grade. We're not at the point where we have the depth we expect from him yet. He'll get better, but like I think he's still in a passing grade. Because here's what I'm thinking, right?
I'll C+ him as well.
You know how
I'm very good at giving a grade.
You know how I said the problem was we can't keep giving Luffy S? I realized we can't keep giving Luffy S if Luffy's tier list is a bell curve of Luffy, but what if it's a bell curve of protagonist quality? That way,
Exactly.
we're ranking protagonists like Fuko, Luffy on their own, and Guts is there too. And part 1 Guts, I think I would only give part 1 Luffy if we were doing it back then a C+ too. You know, not everyone hits the ground running.
First of all, Water Dog, no, that's not what we're gonna do, but I appreciate your awesome idea for top 5 things as dick-shaped things.
So what's your top 5?
We can either do top 5 darkest moments or top 5 death.
I was thinking we would just do top 5 characters like we normally do, and then you and I, instead of drip, do a monster design, and instead of favorite moment, we do the moment that caused the most pain.
Or we could do the moment that caused the most pain and the moment that we found the lightest.
The moment that gave us the most joy. Yeah, okay. I think this is a good starting point, and if we need to adjust these, we will over time. So top 5 characters, you want to kick us off?
Are we allowed to use Guts here, or are we just holding him aside?
Guts is on the side. He's a protagonist. We'll keep him on the side.
Second
That's been our policy for our read-throughs.
Like,
for YouTube viewers, we give a tier list grading to our protagonists. We did it for Fuko, we did it for Luffy, instead of including them in the top 5.
Because we believe that we see them so often that putting them in the top 5 kind of ruins it for other people.
Yeah, they would just take the top 5. They would just be on the ball all the time.
So, are we putting Puck on the side too? Are we seeing Puck the entire time, or is Puck dying?
Puck we put in the top 5 for now, and we see how we go. Because Andy was in the top 5. Andy wasn't getting.
Agreed.
Yeah,
fine. Puck is 1.
Puck is 1. That's a great number 1. Number 2, Teresia. But my translation I think was different than yours. Little girl.
Yeah, I would agree. I wish she had less boob, but I would agree. Number 5.
Yep.
Eaten old man.
I was gonna put him at number 3, but that's interesting. All right. Number 4. We didn't talk about his backstory much, but we did read it this week, so I am going to say, the horrible guy raising Guts who did his best, but clearly did not know how to raise a child.
He sucked.
He was so clearly trying very hard. He's just
Gambino.
He's just not doing a good job. He's trying very hard.
Is number 3 available?
You know what? I think I said number 3, but I'm switching it to number 4. So number 3 is available.
Oh my god, he just got Nami'd.
I think Gambino is trying. I think he's doing a bad job, but I think he's trying.
You know what? You know what the problem is? Gambino is just too childish.
You stole that from chat.
Oh my god, did chat say that?
Yeah, chat said that.
They said childish Gambino?
Yeah, they said he's childish. Yeah,
oh my god, I didn't even notice. Chat, I love you. Thank you for being in the same headspace. Okay. Unpopular opinion. Number 3 is obviously Griffith.
Wild take. Look, I have a feeling from cultural osmosis. I am pretty sure that I'm correct in thinking that Griffith is one of the biggest bastards in all of fiction. So I'm so excited for you.
Awesome, and we're talking about like how much they added interest to my story.
Yes. I still think, despite you putting Dofi, a confirmed SAer, in your top 5 and not regretting it, I think from what I've heard of how much people hate Griffith, that you are going to regret that one day anyways. However, I don't know if that's true. I've just heard that he's one of the most hateable characters in fiction.
If I'm going to be honest with you, if it was later on, I probably wouldn't put him in. But I'm only doing it off of deluxe.
No, I think you're right. Because honestly, I was going to do the same thing if I was in charge of the last one. All right. I'm going to say the moment that hurt me the most was what I drew. Guts crying at the end, like him struggling not to cry, feeling this much pain, it felt like from seeing his old friend and from having to be an enemy to this little girl he could barely save from killing herself. Like everything, it felt like everything hurt him, and it broke me. I felt it was the first time that I was like, ugh. Like through reading this, that was the one where I was like, oh no, Mr. Sad Man.
Yeah, it was a good moment. Mine though, that made me the most like, we're doing gut wrench moment,
this
right?
is the pain moment first. The moment of pain.
Okay. My most gut wrench moment was 100% when he freaked out on the old man and screamed, "Don't touch me."
God,
when
that's a good number 2.
I was like, holy shit, this boy has been
Can I just say,
hurt.
Theresia begging him to stop when he keeps stabbing her father was up there. That's number 3 for me, but
Yeah, that's
fuck.
up there. That's up there for sure.
Um,
Yeah.
Okay, the moment that warmed my heart, I'm gonna say I'm not gonna
That
do a runner-up.
that had the most joy.
Yeah, the one that gave me joy was Puck flying in and using his light magic to blind the dudes who were about to shoot Guts. Seeing Puck come in and save Guts, and Guts immediately after save Puck to be like, yeah, to acknowledge you did actually save me there. I didn't notice those crossbowmen. Thank you. Like, because him saying now we're even was an acknowledgement of like, yeah, you did. Like that made me happy. That really made me happy.
Legit Hawaiian says Berserk. I agree with you. That moment was pretty amazing, and it also showed like the power of somebody so small, which made me be like, "Oh, that's really cool. Thank you for putting that in there." And then this isn't the one I'm picking, but when he goes, "You're a selfish bastard chicken, you big ass," and smacks himself in the ass was funny too. I think Puck is going to do a lot of the evening out for us.
I think I know chat told me that he's not going to when they were like, I've never even considered Puck dying. I just feel like this guy's gonna die.
Oh, I've never even considered Puck dying, but I should, because if you love someone, they'll die. I have a feeling. Pain.
Same.
But the actual moment that I found the happiest, which is going to tell you how you find happiness in Berserk. Hey kids, this is how you find happiness in Berserk. When Guts' hand was broken in 45,000 different ways,
Yeah.
and the fingers were going in the wrong direction, and he looks at Puck and he goes, I just need you to heal this one hand so that I can fight. I was like, what a huge, joyful moment that he's asking for help. He's opening up.
I really, this is obviously a difficult story and it's gonna get worse, but I really did enjoy what we read. Like there's so much depth to it already. Like it's got so much you can read into in all of the dialogue.
I enjoyed it more in the retelling than I did in the read.
I feel the same way, but I think that's a lot of our best streams have been that, like the Foxy stream,
I agree.
like coming in
spring stream.
Because of so much of what we do here, why we do this as book club is because we both believe that the most media is not complete until it's been digested, until it's been discussed
100%.
and thought about. And media you can find more depth in by talking about is good media. Like there's something that you get more out of by analyzing and digging into and finding the interest in. And I'm so excited to read this, be like, oh, that hurts, and then talk to you and be like, oh, here's all the cool things in it.
Yeah, I agree. And when I was done reading, I was like, wow, that went fast. And I don't know how much I got out of it. And my book is full of notes. But then when you and I were talking, I was like, you know what? Together, we really did get a lot more out of it. And I feel really good for it.
I'm glad you did notes because there's so many things I remembered thinking in the time I was reading. But because this is so action heavy and after like chapter 4 or 5 or so, it's so smoothly drawn that you can flow between the panels really easily. You read through it really quickly. Like you go page after page so fast because it's so digestible.
Yeah. Dr. Jack, yeah, we finished the top 5.
Top
we
5.
did
Yep.
5.
Oh, we did our favorite monster. I thought
favorite monster.
I was thinking favorite monster instead of best drip because that's the cool designs in this is monsters.
All right, well then I just want to say that I call Griffith.
Yeah, you call Griffith. The slug monster is cool. Halberd monster is cool. The snake guy just feels like, you know, like he's kind of.
So what are you choosing?
I would pick Griffith, and I am going to pick Hot Lady instead because you took Griffith.
I'm just so mad that her hair is cool. I want her to not get to have cool hair.
Please don't read ahead. We'll avoid reading ahead. Stasi Boy,
you talking about Stasi Boy? I didn't read ahead. I read the first book.
You were right this time about where we should stop. Look! Constipated genius. I need to be clear. It's not every time there's a monster lady I am into them. I have even said I feel like this is an unimaginable monster lady.
I'm reading all of Deluxe Edition Book 2 next week. That is what I'm reading.
We're reading Book 2 apparently.
Yeah, 100%. That's what's going to happen.
All right, you ready?
Yeah. Oh, hey there, YouTube. It's Mama Drawk here, live from Berserk. What is Berserk? Happiness in a cake. Imagine
it's beautiful.
the most joyful cake you could ever have. It's like strawberry shortcake. It's got a little cream. There's sprinkles and sparkles and fairy dust, and you're like, whee! And that's what Berserk is, only with a few demons. We are reading it together as a mother and son, and I know what you're thinking. I think, yeah, the best way to do this is a mother and son read Berserk.
Yeah, that's how you do it. That's how you get through Berserk, is you read it together as mother and son reading Berserk.
And so if you enjoy Berserk and you would like to see us read and pull it apart more and cook it all down into one delightful demon drink, then follow, subscribe, come back. Subscription will give you such great things as learning about demons and such wonderful things as, I'm not going to talk about it, but you'll see. And also those other things we can't talk about. And at Christmas time,
orange juice.
Lots of orange juice. Come have breakfast. Come have breakfast should be our motto. So we are absolutely going to have a blast. We're going to keep our spirits high. And you can also follow us because we are going to be engaging in a thing called One Piece Party Piece soon. And it's going to be absolutely fantastic.
Like One Piece Party Piece is going to be hilarious. You get no more context than that.
That's all you get for now.
Show up next week. See what it's like.
Our address is up there under Griffin's eye. Under Gut's eye. He is staring at it. He is thinking about it, and he is thinking about sending us a letter. If you would also like to send us a letter, send it to the address that he's eyeing up. Come into our Discord. People don't understand. We go to our Discord. We chit chat, but people in our Discord group have their own thing going on. They have a whole life, world awesomeness. I'd like to thank our Patreons. If you want to become a Patreon, you can do that on the YouTube channel of YouTubian, Ubitobian. I'm going to stay with that. Yeah. And you could be one of the people who's keeping the house lights on. This Drawking is drawing and talking, and we are rocking it out. But Drawk is also making a game right now, so you can come in for critter creation and other things at any time you like.
And I'm going to pick a random patron to thank.
We're going to have a blast. Press the like if you liked it, because that's normal. When you like something, like it. That's all I have to say. Here's the second plug. Hey, subscribe, like, bye.
And now, part of the plug, I'm going to thank a random patron. Thank you, Weed Horse Theo.
Wait a minute, say the name again.
This would be Weed Horse Theo.
Yes.
This is Theo the Weed Horse. So I need to say, before we go, we should decide what we're reading next, and I need to be clear about something. Stasi Boy was right about what we should read this time, and Stasi Boy is saying, Mama, don't read all of book 2.
Why?
We have to acknowledge that Stasi Boy was correct.
I want to read all of book 2.
Stasi Boy, where do you think we should read to? Because you were right. You were right about where we should read to this time.
You're wrong.
Legit Hawaiian. Everyone in chat is saying don't read all of book 2. Let's listen to all of chat. They were the ones who told us to read.
Where are we gonna?
The same people who told us to read until the end of book 1 are saying don't read all of book 2.
Okay, so then what do we read instead?
Stasi, what is our next read point? What are we going to next? Can you pop in voice? Sure, pop in voice and tell us. This
better be interesting, Stasi. This is entertainment for the people. Bum 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 bum. Stasi's too slow. Stasi's too slow.
That's true.
He's taking far too long. Oh God, about time.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can.
We can hear you, Stasi. What's up?
So,
and then you went. Okay,
Deluxe editions are 3 volumes in 1.
Okay.
Okay.
I would like you to read the first volume in that 3 in 1, and then 2, I believe, yes, the 2 chapters into that next volume.
Okay,
Jesus,
so like
how do I know what that is?
Of what we just read, basically.
About a third of what you just read.
That's so.
I'm gonna need a page
we're
number.
About to read.
So dense.
Oh shit!
The reason, like, okay, so you guys wanted to read more, because there is so little going on.
There wasn't that much to talk about. Yes, we didn't have enough to talk about.
The inverse in the next like if you read that whole volume 2, you are cannibalizing like 3 or 4 streams.
Whoa, wow. Okay.
What?
Deal, but I'm gonna need a page number for deluxe edition.
I will dig through the page numbers of the. I have the first.
I can do it by chapter on my site, so I will read the next volume and then 1 chapter or 2 chapters. One volume, 2 chapters.
The chapter for you, Drawk, is the prologue 16.
Prologue 16 is what I'm reading to. Sounds good. I can do that.
I'll need a page.
I will find the proper page number. Mama, the chapter is called Golden Age Part 8.
Golden Age Part 8, and then how far into the not Golden Age?
No, that's it. You're just doing Golden Age.
You're not past the not Golden Age.
All right, I can do that, but also
part of this is because I want you to be able to make predictions, and I am carving this story up like a turkey. Because unlike One Piece that has good locational stories, Berserk is not like that.
Okay,
we do need enough to talk about each time, though. So just,
absolutely,
because while we want more content, we also want to be making good content. So there's got to be stuff to talk about. As long as you feel like there's enough to fill a 2-hour discussion.
Every single person says he speaks for us all. Okay, well, we better get off because we have hit our limit.
All right, I need to go dunk myself in cold December water now.
All right.
I carried a fridge today. Thank you, Stasi.
Anytime.
I don't want to brag, but I don't have a choice. I carried a fridge today.
That's pretty impressive.
So I should be dunking myself in cold water. Okay, listen up, squishies. Let me tell you a little thing. You are good people. You have good lives. Be kind to each other. I love you all.
Real.
And we'll talk to you soon, squishy squishertons. You are good little peoples. All right, go on, Drawk it off.
Yeah, I'm going to try to raid somebody. I think we finished too early for Oak to be online, it looks like.
Oak Tea Party is on live.
Oh, why isn't she showing up? It's used to show my regular raidies. We're just going to go after Oak. Oak is great. If anyone doesn't know, Oak does cute pinup girls. I'm going to tell Oak that I'm dipping right away to dip because I got to dip. Y'all, thank you for being here. We love having you. This series is going to be a blast. I am loving it already. It's so cool to see where all my favorite things got inspiration from and what Demon Slayer stole from. We don't have a specific Berserk sign off, so I guess we'll just do the normal, just the two of us. Ready? Until next time.
I've been pain-free.
No, that's not. You just squish on. I don't have one yet. No, we don't have one.
I'm going to be pain-free. You have to be something happy too.
Okay. I've been painkiller.
Okay, let's do it. Until next time.
I've been painkiller.
I've been pain-free. Squish on, squishies.
It's been lovely talking to you. See, it only works if I say the until next time, but you know what? We've learned from the future.
Do it again.
Until next time.
I've been pain-free.
I've been painkiller.
Squish on, squishies.
It's been lovely talking to you. We did it. Bye, everybody. We love you.
Bye, everybody.
Oh, that's great.